All right, Alexander, let's talk about Habeck's recent trip, vice chancellor, and I believe he's economic minister as well.
Yeah.
Um, his recent trip to Beijing, a 3 day visit where he planned on seeing the Chinese premier. The Chinese premier snubbed him. From what I understand, that meeting never did take place. And he ended up seeing a lot of other officials. Of course, we have a looming trade war between the European Union and China. I believe the tariffs are 38% tariffs that the EU is going to impose on EVs from China, electric vehicles. And Habeck goes to Beijing and he wonders why things are so tense between Europe, Germany, and China. And actually, Habeck blamed Russia for it. that was who he put the blame on, Russia, not the fact that Europe is placing tariffs on Chinese goods. No, it's Russia's fault. Anyway, a disastrous trip
I think
from
it
a
was a
politician who's a disastrous politician, actually. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, the fact that, members of the Green Party, including Annalena Baerbock, who is, let's remember, still Germany's foreign minister, have said unbelievably horrible things about China. I mean, incredibly rude things about China. That supposedly doesn't play a role either in explaining why relations between China and Germany and Europe are now so bad. Now,
She called Xi Jinping a dictator.
she
Right,
called Xi
on
Jinping
Fox
a
News.
dictator, exactly,
Yeah,
on Fox
yeah, I
News,
remember
exactly.
that.
So
Yeah.
all of this. So I mean, this is, and she's his Green Party colleague and friend. Just saying. So I mean, this isn't something that Habeck is apparently aware of. And of course, he comes along and he says, I insist that China must stop all supplies of dual-use goods to Russia. And the Chinese, of course, are just simply not listening. Now, things to say about this. First of all, as I understand it, this is Robert Habeck's first trip to China since he became vice chancellor and economics minister. Now, I say that I'm not absolutely sure that is the case, but I believe it is the case. If so, that is extraordinary, given that China is such an important trading partner for Germany. And the European Union has now imposed 38% tariffs on Chinese EV vehicles. Now, what is so interesting about this is that this has been done supposedly in order to protect Europe's own EV industries. It's the automobile industry and its development of EV cars. Except that the core of Europe's automobile industry, which is the German car industry, has opposed these tariffs. And the reason they've opposed these tariffs is because the German car industry has been a major exporter of cars to China. Certainly if you go to China, I mean, I was there some years ago, but I remember the cars that you saw, the foreign cars that you saw, were predominantly German. So the Germans export cars to Germany. They've exported machine tools. They've exported all kinds of things. Germany absolutely does not need to be drawn into a tariff war between Germany and China. Germany has done very well from the trade with China. And if you're talking about German car makers, I suspect that their long-term plans was to work together with the Chinese on EV technology. Very different from the perspectives of the US, for example. And it's a bit of a strange thing anyway that we are arguing at this particular point in time about EVs, because as everybody who has been following the automobile news closely, as I do, in Britain and in Europe, sales of EV cars anyway are falling. There's not a great demand in Europe for these things. Now, I don't want to get into the details as to why that is, but suffice to say that for the moment, European consumers appear to be turning their backs on them. So it's a very strange thing to enter into a battle over. Now, the Chinese are retaliating. They've already started to take steps to impose tariffs on imports of pork. Doesn't sound like it's a big thing, but it's a $3 billion trade. It's going to affect severely Spanish farmers, where a lot of this pork comes from, apparently. More importantly, the Chinese are gradually shifting towards restrictions on imports of machine tools from Europe. Once upon a time, they needed to import machine tools from Europe. China now is the biggest machine tool maker in the world, doesn't need that so much. And the Chinese are gradually also moving towards cutting back, curtailing their imports of aircraft from Airbus as China's own aerospace industry develops. Now, I don't think that had been the Chinese intention, because the Chinese have always wanted to maintain a close connection economically with Europe. They wanted to import goods from Europe and similarly to export goods from Europe, because they saw Europe's economy, especially Germany's economy, as complementary to themselves. But if there is a trade war, Europe will lose from it. China ultimately will gain from it. So why are the Europeans doing all of this? The answer is it's politics. They are under pressure from the United States not to curtail their economic links with China, because the United States is in a geopolitical conflict with China. The United States is putting pressure on the Europeans, therefore, to reduce their commercial and economic ties with China. Ursula von der Leyen and all of the others, of course, follow that course. That's why we've had these imports, or these tariffs on Chinese EV imports. The Chinese will retaliate. We'll gradually shift to a trade war. German business is extremely unhappy. They finally persuaded Habeck to go to China to try to turn this round and to try to see if some kind of common ground can be achieved. The Chinese are absolutely furious. Neither Li Qian, the prime minister, nor Xi Jinping, the president, seem to be interested in meeting Habeck. Habeck himself isn't really motivated to stop the trade war, because he basically agrees with the Americans about ending the tariffs, about ending the relationship, the economic, commercial relationship with China. So he goes to China and he poses and postures and signals, virtue signals about China's trade with Russia. So this is a sign, this visit, far from slowing the process of economic disengagement between China and Europe, is going to accelerate it. As I said, the Chinese are furious about the tariffs. They're furious about everything that's happening. Habeck has gone on this visit to try to appease German business and perhaps also to turn things round electorally for the Green Party. But in the end, nothing is going to come from this visit, because Habeck isn't really looking for solutions. He wants to intensify the conflict with China as well.
Yeah, disengaging from China means disintegration for Germany.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Habeck, this is the green agenda. I think for Habeck, this fits perfectly well with the green agenda. The U.S. policy for him is exactly as the Greens want Germany to become.
Yes.
So for him, why stop this trade war with China? That's probably how he sees it.
Well, this is
and blame it all on Russia.
Blame it all on Russia.
Exactly. For the German people. Yeah, so they don't blame him. Yeah.
This is the thing that I think a lot of people just do not understand. If you're talking about the Greens in Germany, not all of them, but a good part of them, and certainly their leadership. Deindustrialization is not something they oppose. They want it to happen because, of course, it's consistent with their overriding philosophy and ideology. They want deindustrialization. And so, it's all very well for German industry to be unhappy with the direction that things are taking. And of course, German voters are becoming increasingly unhappy as well. But Habeck and Baerbock and those sort of people have completely different priorities.
Yeah, now they have the perfect excuse to blame it on Russia, so that the
Yeah,
people aren't even going to be angry with them. Not only is Germany deindustrializing, not only have they been cut off from Russia, not only are they about to be cut off from China, but when things go really bad for the German people, blame it on Putin. Don't even blame it
exactly.
on us.
Yes, yes. I
It
mean,
works out well for Habeck.
it works well for Habeck and for Baerbock, at least so they think.
So they think, yeah.
So they think. I think increasing numbers of people in Germany, as the European Parliament elections showed, are starting to get wise to this. It's taken a while to happen, but I think it is beginning to happen. But having said that, I think that's their plan going forward. You know, end the connection with China. They are very, very committed now, fully committed to being with the United States, with the Biden administration, perhaps to be more precise, than with the United States. They're all in with that. China, of course, as far as they're concerned, is the dictatorship. So, they probably want to see the economic relationship with China built up by German industry over decades of hard work. They're probably quite happy to see it all fall apart. Just as, of course, they were very, very happy to turn off the whole economic relationship with Russia, also built up by German industry over decades of hard work. It's extraordinary how fast this is happening. And the Chinese, of course, have seen right through it. They know exactly why Habeck is in China, that he's not really there to change anything or to adjust everything. And that's why important people are not meeting him.
Yeah, what you said about the people wising up to what Habeck and Annalena are doing, the German citizens understand that they're destroying Germany. Annalena, she said about a year and a half ago, "What do we care what the citizens want? We'll do whatever we want." She said something like that. I remember her at some event saying, "We don't care what the citizens want. We're going to do what we want." She was talking about Ukraine, giving money to
Yes.
Ukraine and weapons to Ukraine, but I'm sure that carries over to China as well. What do we
Oh, I've
care
no
if
doubt
people
it
in
does.
Germany are suffering? What do we
I've
care
no
if
doubt it
people in
does.
Germany are suffering or losing jobs or whatever? We're going to do what we want as the
Exactly.
people.
No, I've no doubt about that at all. I'm sure that's right. That's exactly what they, envisage. That's exactly what they want to see. I mean, absolutely, they're not interested in the vast majority of people in Germany, who it's important to remember have never voted for them. I think the Greens, the maximum they've ever got, which was in the last parliamentary election, was around 20%. More often, they sort of tumble around 11 to 15%. And that's basically where they are now. They're back to their core electorate, which is still there and probably will always be there for them. And well, if they achieve their greater strategic objectives, we don't worry.
All right, we'll leave it there. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, and Rockfin. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some football merch, Football 24. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.